Hey everyone, good to be back. Welcome to the beginning of the last term for the year. We're in term 6. That's kind of exciting. And it's only about 5 weeks left of school, so we got to get some work done. And one of those things is to get you ready to take a test to wrap up this unit on Amplify Oceans, Atmosphere, and Climate. So here we go. I recommend that you have this video open alongside the study guide, and there's a link for that in the assignment post. And just have it open and answer the questions as they come along. Basically, each slide has a question. Not this one though. Lou, stop it. Here we go. Sorry about that. So here we go. Sunlight um, enters the atmosphere from the sun through space to our atmosphere. And it turns out our atmosphere doesn't do a very good job of absorbing that sunlight. Some does get absorbed, but largely it passes through because the atmosphere is transparent. So that means that the ocean and the land get hit with pretty strong sunlight, and they absorb some of it. Do they absorb all of it? No, because you know that sunlight reflects off of water and can kind of blind you. The same happens on land in some spots too. So not all the energy is absorbed, but a lot of it is. And when it does, the energy is transferred from the sunlight to the ocean or to the land, and both of them will warm. Always remember, energy flows from high energy to low energy. So energy is flowing to the land and the water here. Well, after a while, these surfaces will start to warm. And as they're warm, they end up getting high energy, much more energy than the air right above them. So what happens is there's a transfer of that high energy, that heat, from the ocean to the air directly above. And that also happens on land. Remember, so that's one important concept. Another important concept I should probably back up is that all the energy, the reason we're warm as we are, is because of sunlight. Yeah, the volcanoes warm us up a little bit, but that's not very important. The energy budget's all about sunlight. It's sun that's running the show. And as long as we talk about that, the sun isn't equally intense as it gets spread out over our planet. So this represents 1/4 of our planet, and this would represent the equator. This would represent the North Pole. And the distance between these arrows, if you notice, they're all equal distance here, but you notice near the equator, these two arrows are pretty close together. If you go way up here, see how far these arrows are apart? That means that light is really dim and not very strong. So there's lots of energy here and very little energy there. And once again, energy flows from high energy to low energy, and that's the direction of our hot currents. They flow that direction. If we combine um, the fact that a lot of energy is being absorbed in this area um, on a map, you'll see that it happens on land and water. So we've got very cold areas near the poles, and we've got warm areas near the equator. And that energy transfers, from the water to the air or from the land to the air. Now, turns out prevailing winds set up surface ocean currents. And so these red lines happen to be the prevailing winds in an area. All right. And it turns out, especially we're kind of especially concerned about the equator, they tend to flow towards the west, which causes this. We have a westward current along the equator. On both sides of the equator, we have this flow. Okay, and that's because these winds blow and blow and blow, and they start moving the water that's underneath them. Okay. To combine these two, if I combine this energy budget with a lot of energy here near the equator and very little near the poles, along with this current diagram, we get this current diagram where you can see that water that spends time near the equator has a chance to warm up. So water near the equator is high energy. Water near the poles, on the other hand, is colored blue because it's low energy because it's not collecting much energy there. So basically these are cold currents, low energy currents. These are warm currents, high energy currents. But just realize that currents absorb and release energy depending upon their surroundings. Cold currents originate from the poles, warm currents near the equator. Um, Next, these currents, as they're flowing, they bring the conditions of the current to local areas and change the climate in local areas. So London is really quite far north. But if you notice, it's right next to this North Atlantic drift up here that comes in near London. And it turns out London is much further north than we are. So it generally the land and the air is cool there, but the warm ocean brings its energy there, and the energy transfers from the warm ocean to London and heats the air and makes London a warmer place than it would be. It's kind of a surprisingly nice climate, mild climate compared to ours. Um, Lisbon, on the other hand, is near the Canary Current, and the Canary Current, as you can tell, it's blue. It's a cool current, and it experiences the opposite. It's further south, so it's getting absorbed a lot more energy in the land on the continent, and the air correspondingly heats up too, and then that energy in the air actually goes into the ocean, which means if the air is giving away its warmth, it's getting colder. So Lisbon's actually cooler because of a cool climate nearby, and that's why it's a real popular place to go in the summer if you're in Europe. Um, Next is a different situation. These two cities I chose because they're the same exact latitude, but it's south of the equator as Cold Spring or Collegeville. So we have, I'm just going to call this PA and CR. So turns out they're at the same latitude, so you expect them to be the same temperature, right? But that's not the case. If you look, PA is much cooler. Here it's about 7 degrees cooler, and here it's probably 10 degrees cooler, maybe even more. So it's quite a bit cooler than a city right in the same situation. But it's not the same situation because there's this cold current coming here, and CR is experiencing a warm current. So in PA, this is the situation. The air and the land are warm from the sun, and the ocean is colder, so the air's energy goes into the ocean and cools the ocean. The opposite's true in CR. The ocean is much warmer because it's taking that energy from the equator, and it's warmer than the land and air in CR, and the energy transfers from the ocean to CR. And that makes a big difference. I'll try to be quick on this one. This is just kind of a neat thing. Here we are at 45.4, 45.54. I don't know what we are, but close to that. These are the same latitude, and you expect, hey, well, that means they're getting the same amount of sun energy, that they should be the same. Well, that's not the case. If you see this, there's a cold current real nearby. So what does that mean? Well, if you take a look, surprisingly, you might be surprised, Minnesota is this red line. Minnesota has colder winters, and it's got hotter summers than this place in Oregon, right on the coast, seaside. The reason for that is, while this is a cold current, this California current, it's cold relatively in the summer, so it absorbs energy from the air, okay, and cools off the air. But in the winter, even if it's a cold current, it's not nearly as cold as the air nearby. So in the winter, it's actually warmer and it starts providing heat. The heat goes the opposite direction. So if you notice how flat this curve is, that's because the ocean's nearby. The ocean flattens the curve. If you're in the center of a continent, you have bigger extremes. The idea here, and I have to get out of the presentation here to get to it. The idea here is just that what happens when a current reaches an obstruction. So we'll see if I can make it work. Come on. It's not going to work, but if, yeah, maybe I just we're doing well. I just want to scoot it ahead. I'm not sure it was all ready to go. So I'm going to scoot ahead and we don't have to watch the whole thing. But if you remember, I put an object in here and I blew on the water. And what happens to a current when you have an obstacle in the way? What does the current do? How does it behave? So if you notice here, it's deflecting the current. The current's going this way and the current's going this way. So it's a good demonstration on how an obstacle will change the current. So surface currents are caused, of course, by um, the winds above them, the prevailing winds, and they're also um, channeled or changed in direction by continents and islands that make them change direction. All right, then here's the answer to our question here. In normal years, they're called La Nina, which means the girl. The La Nina years, which is most of the years, the typical years, we have a strong westerly current. That's that north equatorial current blowing. So much so that the sea level here is like a meter or a meter and a half higher than near Peru. So there's kind of a heap of water there. Okay, and that means the water piles up, that hot water piles up, and it's quite warm in the Western Pacific, and that includes, it's not on this map, but that includes New Zealand. So normal years, New Zealand's enjoying more weather, or nice weather, because it's sitting in a pool of hot water there. During an El Nino year, the winds aren't as strong, so this pile of water is less. There's not water heaping up over here. The water actually kind of comes back. And if you notice, that hot water pile is actually, during an El Nino year, spread out. Okay, during normal years, this water here, it's blue because it's coming up from the bottom to replace the water that's being pushed this way. That's a normal year, and it's surprisingly cool in Peru for that reason. During an El Nino year, that warm water has a chance to stretch out over the Pacific and warm a lot of things. And it causes a lot of different weather anomalies, and it's quite interesting. But near Christchurch, it's giving these cooler winds and different currents that respond with a cooler current, and that cools off Christchurch. That's the answer to our question. Keep in mind, things can have more than one cause. If your house is too warm, hey, maybe you forgot to turn off the furnace, or maybe it's really hot outside and the heat's coming in from outside. There's many possibilities why your house is hot. So don't think that an effect like a hot house has to be from one reason. It could be that it was on fire. You could add another one of these. Anyway, moving on. Here's some quick questions. Which city of these two would be warmer? Hopefully you're choosing Chengdu because it's closer to the equator, receiving more sunlight energy, absorbing more sunlight energy directly to the surface and then to the air. Here's another question. This one's not so clear. Which city's hotter here, Ailsund or Katirka? Well, what you have to look at is, where is this current originating from? This current's coming from the equator, so it's warm. Ailsund's probably the energy is going from the current to Ailsund, whereas Katirka, this is coming from a polar region, which means it's a cold current, which probably means this is the heat here is being absorbed by the water. So chances are Ailsund's much warmer than Katirka. We're going to hurry here. I just want to mention this. If there's prevailing winds like this, the water underneath is going to go this direction, but when it hits an obstruction, it's going to turn, and this one's going to turn this way. So the current here is going to come from the poles, because this is the pole. It says equator here. Along here, it's going to go along the equator until it hits this obstruction, and it's going to bend, and the equator is going to bring warm water to delta. So delta would be warmer than alpha. Once again, because the energy in the water is being transferred to the air. I'm almost out of time here, and I'm done. Thanks for listening, and be ready for the test. I'll also set up, no, I won't. Just study this.